When you're faced with this position on the chessboard, do you tremble in fear? Do you worry that the game is already lost? Well, don't worry. I used to worry about it too. It's certainly an intimidating position, but I'm going to show you a move today that you can play as black that will absolutely crush lower rated opponents, and it's a move I've never seen anybody talk about before. So if you don't know what the fried liver attack is, it stems from the line e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to c4, and then, as black, if you play knight f6, the vast majority of players are going to play this knight to g5 move. And this is the fried liver attack where white's bishop and their knight are eyeing our very weak f7 square, and they're getting ready to fork our queen and our rook if this knight can land onto this square. And again, this is where a lot of lower rated players will panic and they'll play d5, and then after white takes, they take with their knight, and this is just crushing. White is just crushing you here. Unless you really know what you're doing, you're probably going to get destroyed by white in this line. So let's not do that. Instead, what I recommend is after white takes back with the pawn, you instead play this very rare knight to d4 move. Now, it's only played about 7% of the time in lower level chess. So the database I'm showing you here is for players rated under 1600. It's the third most popular move, but it's only played 7% of the time. But that's a good thing because it means your opponent probably has never seen this move against their fried liver attack. And if they play the wrong move here, which the majority of players do, they're going to get crushed. So as you can see here in the database, by far and away the most popular move is d6. White continuing with their plan to take on f7 with the knight and fork our queen and rook. A better move for white is c3 or castles. You can see castles here almost never played at this level. c3 is played sometimes, but also you can see here if either of those moves are played, it's a fine game for black, and I will show you how to defend those later. But let's look at the most important line, the line you're going to see most often, the line where you can absolutely crush white, and that is d6. So after white plays d6, we're going to capture back with the queen. And this looks to white like, hey, I still have my fork. I mean, sure, the queen isn't on d8 anymore, but it's on d6, and if the knight comes into f7, it's a fork on the queen and the rook here. But this is actually a trap. If they play this move, they're done, you're winning. So after they play this knight f7 move, which as you can see here is played by 86% of players, it's pretty much the only move you're going to see. So after they play this knight to f7 move, forking our pieces, we're just going to move the queen to c6, and now we have this attack on the bishop. But more importantly, we have this attack on the g2 pawn that is completely undefended. And if we're able to take this pawn, we'll now be attacking this rook with check. Most players aren't going to spot this at this level. In fact, you can see 52% of the players, almost everybody, takes the rook on h8. Now they may play d3, which doesn't help them either. Maybe they play this move where they take the pawn to attack our queen. It doesn't help. The move they have to really play here is castles, but look at that. Only 5% of the players at this level are going to castle. You're never going to see it. More often than not, you're going to see them take the rook on h8. And then, of course, we're going to dive in, take this pawn on g2, and now they're going to realize the error of their ways because now they realize, oh, my rook is hanging with check. So they have to move the rook, and of course they're going to move it to f1. And now we're going to bring the queen back with check. Again, the king has nowhere to go. Look at this king. Cannot move, is boxed in by the queen and the rook. And if they try to block with the queen, then we take with the knight. So of course they're going to block with the bishop here. And now look at this incredible smothered checkmate. Do you see it? Knight f3 check, smothered mate, game over. All right, now let's look at what happens if they play a better move like c3, which seems like a natural move, attacking the knight here, although it does end any hopes they have of forking us. We're just going to play knight to f5 here, and now they're going to go ahead with their plan, try to get this fork in, push d6, but now we're just going to capture with the knight, and this is a totally fine game for us here. Now the knight is guarding the f7 square. We've got our pawn back. We're totally fine here. Now after this knight to f5 move, I want to show you what to do if they castle, which is pretty much the only other move you're going to see. After they castle, I recommend you just kick away the knight with h6. They bring the knight back to f3. You push e4. You attack the knight again. More often than not, 60% of the time, they're going to bring the rook here. They're going to pin our pawn to our king. We're just going to develop our bishop. We're going to break the pin. They're going to bring the knight into e2 here, and then we're just going to go ahead and castle. And yeah, we're down a pawn. and the engine says, you know, this is a slight advantage for white, but nothing to be worried about here. You're just going to play some chess. Now I want to talk about, after you move the knight to g5, what to do if white castles. Now, as you can see here, sub 1600 players, it's rarely played. It is the third most popular move, but it's rarely played, but you may see it, so let's take a look. So if white goes ahead and castles, you see the number one move here is to take the pawn with a knight. I'm going to recommend you don't do that. I'm going to instead recommend that you kick away the knight with h6. And almost everybody, 66% of the players, just going to play the knight back to f3. And now here we can just develop our light squared bishop, pin the knight to the queen, and the computer says this is absolutely even, a complete draw here. You're probably going to see them bring back the bishop to protect the knight. That's the most common move here. And now we can just take with check. After they take back with the queen, we're in a fine position here. The computer actually says black has a slight advantage here. So now you never have to fear the fried liver attack again. But if you want to see some opening tricks that can absolutely crush your opponent, check out this video right here.